Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle a really strange paradox that sits right at the heart of economic theory. It's one of those ideas that at first just feels completely wrong, but once you get it, it unlocks this massive debate about how economies actually work. So here's the big mystery. Picture this, a tiny little economy where one person has absolutely everything and the other person has, well, nothing. How on earth could any economic model look at that and call it efficient? It sounds crazy, right? Well, believe it or not, the classical model does just that, and we're about to figure out exactly why. All right, this thing you're looking at is our main tool for today. It's called the Edgeworth box, and it's actually a pretty brilliant and simple diagram. Every single point inside this box is just a different way to split two goods between two people. But, and this is the important part, look at the corners. That bottom left corner? That's where person A has literally everything. And the top right? That's where person B has it all. Those extreme points, that's where our paradox lives. To get our heads around this, we first have to get our definition straight. See, the word efficient in economics doesn't really mean what most of us think it means in everyday life. So let's lay out the rules of the game. The key idea here is something called Pareto efficiency, and it's a very specific definition. An outcome is Pareto efficient if there is no way to make one person happier without making the other person unhappier. And this is crucial. It has nothing to do with fairness or equality. It's all about stability. It's asking a simple question. Are there any trades left on the table that would benefit both of us? If the answer is no, then bam, the system is considered efficient. Now let's take a step into the world of classical economics. For this, you have to imagine a world of pure barter. There's no money, just stuff. And every single exchange is totally voluntary. This is the foundation of that world, an idea often called Say's law. It's pretty intuitive, actually. In a barter economy, you only offer to trade something, that's your supply, because you want something in return, and that's your demand. The two things are totally locked together. You just can't have one without the other. Okay, so let's walk through the logic here. Let's go back to that corner of the box where person A has everything. Are they going to offer a trade? Of course not. Any trade would make them worse off. So if person A doesn't make an offer, if they don't supply anything for trade, then according to Say's law, no demand is ever created. No trade happens. And since no mutually beneficial trade is even possible, the situation is stable. Therefore, by definition, it's Pareto efficient. And that right there is the classical answer. It feels kind of weird, I know, but within its own set of rules, the logic is totally airtight. If the person who controls all the stuff doesn't want to trade, the market just sort of shrugs and says, well, I guess this is an efficient outcome, even if the other person is left with absolutely nothing. But that classical model leaves out something massive, something that completely changes the game: money. You see, when you introduce money, you break that simple logic we just walked through, especially when money stops being just a tool and starts becoming a treasure. Initially, economists treated money as just a neutral thing, a simple medium of exchange. They called it a numeraire. In this view, money is just grease for the wheels of trade. You don't want the money itself. You want what you can buy with it. This budget line here shows that idea perfectly. All your purchasing power has to be spent on goods. There's no option to just hang on to cash. And in this world, the logic doesn't really change. Those corners of the box are still technically efficient. But then, the economist John Maynard Keynes came around with a totally pivotal insight. He said that money has a second, incredibly important role. It's not just a tool for exchange, it's a store of value. It's an asset, a safe harbor you can run to when you're uncertain or scared about the future. And this one idea, well, it changes everything. This gets to the very core of the Keynesian argument. Just because nobody is trading, it doesn't automatically mean the economy is in some perfect, efficient state. It could just mean people are afraid. It might be a sign of widespread inaction, where everyone is making the totally rational choice to just hold on to their cash instead of spending it or investing it. So, how does this new way of thinking about money actually break that old model? Well, let's visualize it, because we're about to escape the flat, two-dimensional world of the Edgeworth box. And boom, this shows the shift perfectly. The Edgeworth box literally explodes into a third dimension. And that new access, that new direction you can go, that's liquidity, the desire to hold on to cash. Suddenly, people have a brand new choice. Instead of just trading good X for good Y, they can now exit the trade entirely and just move into the safety of holding money. This new space creates what's called a liquidity region. You can think of it like a zone of inaction. It's an area where potential trades that on paper look like they make everyone better off, just don't happen. Why? Because people value the safety of holding cash more than they value the goods they might get. An entire economy can get stuck here. And this gives us a really powerful explanation for real-world things like recessions. An economy can grind to a halt, not because it has reached some state of perfect efficiency, but because fear and uncertainty have made everyone, all at once, rationally decide to prefer liquidity. Inaction becomes the dominant strategy for everyone. So now we have two totally different stories. In one, extreme inequality is somehow efficient. In the other, an economy can freeze up because of a desire for cash. Let's bring these two ideas together and see how they can actually form a more complete picture of reality. This table sums it all up so well. On one hand, you have the classical view where money is just a tool, so no trade means perfect efficiency. This helps explain the long-run structure of how economies work. On the other hand, you have the Keynesian view, where money is a safe asset, so no trade might just mean a preference for liquidity. This explains short-run behavior, and it makes those corners of the box look less like an efficient outcome and more like a potential trap. And here's the really beautiful part. These two views aren't necessarily fighting each other. You can think of Say's law as describing the deep, underlying physics of an economy. Over the long run, things tend to balance out. But Keynes's theory? That describes the short-run reality. It's about the weather, where human psychology, fear, and uncertainty can cause the whole system to seize up. And this is why all of this really matters. If you think a stalled economy is just efficient, then the best thing for policymakers to do is nothing. But if you think it's stuck in a liquidity region, well, then policy can make a huge difference. Actions that reduce uncertainty and make people feel safe to spend again can actually shrink that zone of inaction and get the economy moving. So this leaves us with one last powerful question to think about. When we see economic activity freeze up, are we looking at the logical, stable outcome of a system that's working perfectly? Or are we seeing a collective, rational response to fear? The way we answer that question changes everything about whether we should just stand back and admire the efficiency or step in and try to help.